Since March, when the restrictions were finally lifted, travel and tourism has really bounced back very strongly, and we're heading into the height of the summer tourism season. And the questions are, will the industry be able to meet demand, and what kind of challenges will be faced by holidaymakers over the next few months? Well, I'm joined in the studio by travel expert Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine. Eoghan, you're very welcome. Good to see you. And Eoghan's going to answer any questions that you might have in relation to travel and tourism. And as I said earlier, the number is 51551. You can text us there or email today.
Do our best.
Yeah, we'll do our best to answer todaycb at rte.ie. A quick word on Dublin Airport now, because I know you went through, didn't you, Dublin Airport? You were going to the States for work.
I've been through a few times.
Everything was okay?
It's still very sticky. Like this morning, Terminal 2 the security queue went to 1 hour. That would be completely unacceptable in 2019. If it went beyond 30 minutes, there'd be alarm systems internal within the airport. We have, the numbers game is that about 30 people a week are being recruited to join the security team. That means that the well-publicised problems of a fortnight ago are less likely to happen, but it's still very sticky. The Dublin Airport will have about 780 security staff in place by the end of June. They're recruiting an extra 100, brings them above 2019 levels, but you're facing into that 40, 45,000, 50,000 outbound, 100,000 a day between now and the end of the summer. A couple of things that are still a major problem. We've forgotten how to pack. There's, the liquids, the large items, all of that. And you can tell that it's partly the COVID thing, because the returning passengers, the inbound tourists, are getting through security much better prepared than the outbound, and it's slowing things down. Now they should be built for that. I mean,
we all need a little refresher.
Yeah, I pity the person who'd be stuck behind my Auntie May now in security,
me.
So the app would go from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. But that's one of the issues. They drop off. Terminal 2 it's a newer terminal. Things are working up. Dropping off people at Terminal 1, you're no longer dropping off where you were. It's very confusing as you go in. The roads are closed. That means you're dropping off where the pickup point for the coaches was. You're going through the car park building there. Everyone's going in the same door. Something's working. As you reach the door now, it's very basic sort of people guiding you. Left for straight to security, right to check in. That in most cases in Dublin Airport means Ryanair. That's the very end of the hall to the right. We're talking about Terminal 1 here. You're also have the triage system, well publicised, hasn't really been used that much. They've tested it out, but they're ready to roll. So that queuing outside the terminal hasn't really been required. But we are... Every bit of the airport is under pressure.
We'll see now. Once the schools are off, is it going to ramp up again?
The bag check-in is also an issue, because the airlines are facing the same problems.
Well,
and tour operator TUI has been cancelling flights. There's lots of things going wrong.
Just on that, I have a question here on the baggage. So this listener would like to know, is there any point arriving hours early to the airport if you're not travelling with a company that facilitates bag drop? You can't queue to go through customs until the bags are checked in at the desk. Are the desks opening earlier than the normal 2-hour window?
Earlier, but not that much earlier.
Okay.
I mean, what you have in Terminal 1 is you've got some of the Middle Eastern, the long haulers, Qatar are there, and Etihad are there. And Air France and Lufthansa, particularly those early morning Air France, there's a lot of transfer going through Charles de Gaulle, so a lot of bags per person. They've opened half an hour earlier. But you're absolutely right. Your texter is all absolutely right. You can't arrive 6 hours early for a flight when the bag check-in isn't open. And there's nowhere to go in the airport. The airport's already overcrowded.
Right. OK. Bridget is going to Portugal on the 28th of June for 2 weeks. 4 adults, including my 92-year-old mother. Are there any restrictions in Portugal? COVID cert, mask wearing, etc.?
Not for vaccinated. Local restrictions on mask wearing nearly all gone. I think they're all gone, but if you aren't vaccinated, there are still restrictions. Locator form. Locator form for Spain, while we're on Portugal, we're on Iberia. Spain's our biggest market, Portugal our second biggest. The non-vaccinated are allowed to travel without filling out a locator form. The locator form's gone a couple of months. You did still require it if you weren't vaccinated. one by one, those locator forms are going, but the EU digital certificate is really important still. It's really important locally, it's really important for some venues, and it's really important for the airline.
So make sure you have it. Make sure
you have it. If you don't have it, make sure you have alternative documentation. The locator forms virtually gone everywhere. France is one of the last countries hanging out to it. Netherlands, Belgium.
This listener is considering leaving their car in Dublin Airport for 10 days.
Oh, parking.
When myself and the family fly out to Portugal. Have car parking charges increased in the airport in recent weeks? Well, if you can get a parking space, I don't know whether the price has gone up, but there's not much available, is there?
In a word, what happened was, in a line, what happened was one of the car parks that used to facilitate Dublin Airport is closed. 6,500 spaces taken out of the system. It was independent, it's quick park. There's no prospect of it opening for the summer. It may be open, it may be offered to the market. There's rumours about it being offered to the market in December. NAM are involved. It's complicated. That leaves us very short coming back to the recovery. Now, Dublin Airport's car parking prices used to have these online packages. You booked online, you got €7 a day. It's now running, I think it's 15 for the red long term, 14 a day for the blue long term. Over 2 weeks, that can add up.
It certainly can, yeah.
What Dublin Airport are saying is that they're not taking online bookings in advance, and that a lot of the dates in July and August are full. If you look online, you can see car park full. They haven't reached a situation where people who have turned up have not found a space, but they're so close to the edge that they want people to look at alternatives.
So you might be better off getting the metro. Oh, sorry, we don't have the metro.
Every European airport, capital city airport, has a metro. We don't. Lisbon doesn't, but it has the equivalent of the Lewis. We are the only people that aren't linked. Farran 4 is better linked to the rail system than Dublin is. The reality is the air coach system, and there are 11 different alternative private operators. I don't want to start highlighting.
Yeah, and that's fine, and they're available.
They're working,
but it is very difficult for families, for example, to travel out to the airport without that proper system in place of a train service or a light railway system.
And my Auntie May.
And your Auntie May. Mary wants to know what's the best way to travel to Madeira in September. I don't require accommodation, so I suppose best value, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Madeira has a double weekly flight from Ryanair. Madeira for years had one Saturday charter shared by 3 different tour companies. It came to an end a few years ago, but one of the big wins of the summer is we have double weekly flights from Ryanair going very well. Good. It's a pretty basic tip, but it still holds true. If you're looking for very good prices, watch for those routes that weren't in place before, that are new. Take a little bit of time for people to learn about. Madeira is one of them. You know, people have sort of not been going there because we didn't have a direct flight for so long. Nîmes in France is another. Some of the Greek islands have new routes for this year.
That's a great tip.
You know, if first year, the airline guys will tell you they don't expect to make money on it. And you will get better value. The Alghero in Sardinia is another one that's new for 2022.
And on that, this listener says, have hotel prices across Europe risen as much as they have in Ireland? Is there still some value to be had out there?
Still value to be had. Different markets behaving in different ways. Ireland, what is happening in Ireland and what is getting a lot of the headlines is that Dublin was the worst hit, much worse hit than rural areas, than the west of Ireland during COVID. Mm-hmm. So hotels are probably chasing a little bit of margin there. There's a lot of discussion. What tends to happen in Ireland is that the accommodation is a very basic supply and demand product. Things like restaurants and all of that, they're saying that the product prices or the ingredient prices are driving it up, and that it's less raw. But generally, Irish hotels, as European hotels do, will charge what the market will give. Now, where is the market a bit soft? A country like Croatia, which has a couple of new routes out of Ireland, would have been heavily dependent on the Russian market. Greece would have got a good flux of the Russian markets. Parts of Spain, Salo, would have got a good. So anyone that lost that big inbound market has got beds that they're putting on the market a little bit cheaper. But there is no denying the fact that everything, energy prices have caused hoteliers to raise prices. Food supply line problems have caused hoteliers to raise prices. Not massively, not more than 20%, but it goes by market, and you do expect to pay a little bit more on the ground when you land there. Southern Europe, less susceptible to this than Northern Europe.
What's the situation now? This is a test for you for COVID entry to Perth in Australia. Travelling on the 24th of this month. I got the booster in December, but I'm not eligible for another one because I'm not in the age group or immunocompromised. So this person is not over the age of 65 or immunocompromised, but they've had their booster some time ago. With
your booster vaccinated, no problem. You still have locator forms, all of that. But Australia is volatile. It changes quickly. And you also have crucial differences in policy between the different states.
Okay.
So we're not sure it's still in place, but we had a situation where you could fly to Western Australia and back again, but not go from there to Sydney. It's one thing that I know, that's sort of a dog eat my homework, but do keep an eye on the website.
Yes.
And the website for the country sometimes is very slow. Websites for the airlines are faster. The big direct services to Australia are the three Middle Eastern airlines, Emirates, Etihad and Qatar. Keep an eye on their website. Their information is fairly up to date.
Okay, Eoghan, we might leave it there for now, but we'll bring you back again because we've lots of questions coming in, as you would expect. But Eoghan, thank you very much for all of that good advice and lots of hints on where to still find the value, Eoghan, which you're always welcome. Eoghan Corry, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Claire.
News coming in this morning that the relatives of 9 of those killed by the British Army in Ballymurphy in West Belfast are to receive significant undisclosed damages as part of settlements reached in their civil actions. Now, confidential resolutions were confirmed at the High Court today in claims brought against the Ministry of Defence over the shootings in August of 1971. Following the announcement, Mr Justice Humphreys told the victims' families, as well over 50 years have elapsed since these events occurred, I'm acutely aware of the significance of today as part of the process that all of you have had to go through. And you'll remember 10 people were shot dead during 3 days of gunfire in the West Belfast neighbourhood, and this became known as the Ballymurphy massacre. More on that, no doubt, throughout the day. We'll take a quick break.
Text 51551 today with Claire Byrne on RTE Radio 1.
Hi, I'm Clara and I'm a jewellery box ballerina. Yeah, so with work I'm constantly on my feet, going in circles. But that last heating bill really wound me up. So it's great the home energy upgrade from SEAI now offers increased grants of up to 50%, with up to 80% for attic and cavity wall insulation. Oh, it's totally transformed the place. Search SEAI Home Energy Upgrades and discover a new world of comfort and savings.
Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Today with Claire Byrne on RTE Radio 1.
Coming up in the next hour, we'll be speaking to GP Dr Ray Wally about COVID. Lots of chat about COVID cases in the community over the weekend, so we'll find out what he is seeing. Also, we'll be joined by Dr David Coleman, clinical child psychologist, and as always on the programme, David will be taking your questions. So if you've any parenting questions, do get them into us now. The email is todaycb@rte.ie. You can also send us a message by text to 51551. And Evelyn O'Rourke has been taking to her bike over the weekend, but her mission was to find out just how good the cycle paths are in and around Dublin where she was. So we'll find out the results of her very scientific study. That's coming up in the next hour. Now though, it's time to go to the newsroom and to Brian Jennings.